Hi. What you see here on the bottom is Moog DFAM, but the sounds you're hearing don't originate from it. The level of both its oscillators in the mixer is currently set to 0. What you're hearing is the external audio coming in from Maths. And as I move the sequence one step forward with my finger, every sequence step has two knobs set to different subharmonics of one core frequency. The subharmonics are generated by Maths by processing an external oscillator, in this case from Verbos. I can change the subharmonics by turning this knob. Each little twist of the knob is basically another subharmonic division of the core frequency. The way it works is that the voltage generated by this knob is connected to Maths and telling it how to divide the core frequency. So basically we have one oscillator going into Maths and two additional sub-oscillators, subharmonic oscillators, coming out. But hold on, I hear some of you say, what's all this subharmonic business? Well, if you haven't seen the other videos on my channel, let me bring you up to speed. This is the Moog Subharmonicon, and this is Maths from Make Noise. You can't buy this one commercially yet, but it seems like almost everyone in Eurorack has this one, and after spending some time with Maths, I figured out it can give you a taste for what this does. So let me explain. As of now, June 2018, there were only around 100 of these made at the Moogfest Engineering Workshop. I reviewed it in depth in the past, and I'll leave links in the description, but in a nutshell, what's special about this synth is that it has 6 oscillators and 4 sequencer clocks that work in a very special way based on the principle of subharmonics, meaning that you can take an oscillator running at a certain frequency and play sounds or clock a sequence based on subdivisions of that core oscillator frequency, which makes for interesting harmonies, melodies, and rhythms. Let me give you an example. This is the core sound of oscillator 1, and these two knobs let you play its subharmonics. And this is what they sound like. So there's a little analog computer in here creating a sawtooth wave based on subdivisions of this core oscillator frequency. And I can bring in the second one. So that's the second sub-oscillator. So each of the two oscillators, the two core oscillators on the subharmonicon, have these two sub-oscillators that can subdivide its frequency. And together they sound pretty nice. And you can mix and match their levels in the mixer. The same thing works on a rhythmic level in the sequencer as well. Check out my review for examples of that, but basically overall there are 8 little analog computers in here subdividing these 3 core oscillators, these for sound and this one for tempo. So you can't buy this today unless you want to pay a lot of money on reverb. Now if we only had an analog computer laying around, well, it turns out that Maths has 2 little analog calculators built in that can subdivide oscillator frequencies and generate subharmonics. I'll use the Verbos harmonic oscillator as a simple sawtooth source wave, and this is what it sounds like. Now it turns out that dividing that is quite simple. All I need to do is to plug it into the trig input of any one of these. Let's say bring it up, and now I have my rise and fall set to minimum and my vari-slope to exponential. Now what we're hearing is not the Verbos oscillator anymore, it's a waveform generated by Maths based on the frequency of the Verbos oscillator. Now as we start subdividing the Verbos core frequency, we get 1 octave down, F, C. Now if this note sequence is beginning to sound a little familiar, it's because it's the exact same one as on the subharmonicon. Now admittedly, the transitions here are much smoother. There are some hiccups in maths that we don't get here, but the notes are the same. Right, this is subdivision 16. Let's hear them together. Now, maybe the transitions on maths aren't as good as on the subharmonicon because of the way I built the patch. If you can do a better job or have any other ideas, please leave them in the comments below. And it is also a matter of the source frequency of verbos. I think that it seemed to me, at least in this patch, that maths has a little bit of a more limited range compared to the subharmonicon, especially on the lower frequencies. So maths sort of needs to start higher, but overall, it sounds pretty close. Now we've got two of these sub-oscillators here. And we have two slew rate limiters here. So if I take a little stackable cable, plug it into here, and then keep that going here and plug this into here. And now we have two subharmonic oscillators for our one core verbos oscillator. So that's how to mimic the two core sub-oscillators of the subharmonicon. Regarding the tempo subdividers, I already showed how to subdivide a clock in my main maths review. There will be a link to that somewhere below and hopefully on this screen. So when you think of it, it's sort of like having four little maths modules in here. Now the motion in these knobs is much more unified, and you heard there are sort of a few steps in between here that didn't sound great, but until Moog decides to commercially release this or prices on Reverb go down for some reason, this is a really nice way to play with both audible subharmonics and tempo subharmonics. So let's look at the setup again. I'm not using DFAM oscillators, right? Their level is down to 0. I could later on. All we're hearing is the external input of verbos going through maths. This is the core verbos frequency. This is subdivision 1, sequenced by DFAM. This is subdivision 2, sequenced by DFAM. DFAM sequencer voltage changes move the subharmonics around. Now, pair mode here can sequence the core frequency of verbos. The subharmonics will always follow the core frequency fed in through here. So, as usual, if you enjoyed this clip, please hit like if you want to see more like it. Hit subscribe if you have any questions, hit me up in the comment section below. Thanks very much for watching.